guess for the past community, it's more of the Ricketts lineage lives on. For the most part, you know, I'm now here taking the banner, being the son, continuing my dad's legacy, and also, of course, forging the legacy of my own. And then for the present one, it's more of, you know, I'm here. You guys are welcome. If you guys want to learn more about KI, specifically in the Ricketts lineage, you know, you can actually you can come message me and everything. So I'd love to show you what my father learned from Tatang, and then from there passed on to me to show to you guys.
Tumpada sa plate.
Wala, sampo ano kayo.
Wala kasi ito eh. Padingit. Igod mo, ha?
Wala din.
Alabas ng piling mo.
Ulit nga yung tang, daan, yung pluma. Linuman niyo yung tang.
Luma yun.
Pluma yun.
Antonio Ilustrisimo, Bantayan, Cebu. Marami mong marunong ng artist ko na. Ano ba mga klase yan sila? Maraming klaseng harness. Vertical, Estrella, Buka-Ilobo, Dicadina.
So what I'm going to be going over when it comes to Ilustrisimo, I'll kind of go through like a little bit of foundation, but then afterwards it'll be something that you guys can already use at this point. So if ever you haven't been exposed to Ilustrisimo as much, or maybe you have, you know, there's always these different lineages and everything. So I'll be specific with kind of showing, let's say, the traditional way, right? And then there's a little bit of a modification of how I do it, just because Tatang Ilustrisimo is a very tall Filipino at this point. And so certain techniques, you know, when it comes to kind of certain largo movements, applies to him. For me, I have to adjust just because short, I don't really have that long arms. So it's a lot more on the footwork aspect of it. So I'll explain both, so that way it kind of benefits, let's say, the much more on the taller end, works for you. You're maybe like a short king or a short queen, then it goes with you. All right.
So I basically grew up in the Philippines, but I guess you could say I kind of grew up both in Philippines and the U.S. For the most part, specifically San Diego, if anything.
1, 2, and then resets back. So just so you can kind of get the timing down. Okay. For those that already know the beat again, you can just kind of go with it. But the idea is, as you're going through the motion, check to see if you were stopped halfway, can you still thrust? That's always the check for it. Just always make sure, always keep that mindset where if he ends up evading, can you still thrust if needed? You see what I mean? Okay. So that's kind of like the main difference, as opposed to kind of a swing without keeping this here.
So now I'm based in a Taguig, more closer to BGC area. So my role model is my father. He's also the late Grandmaster Christopher Ricketts. My older brother, also known in the Philippines as more of a Chef Bruce, and then also my uncle as well. He's a well-known action star. His name is Ronnie Ricketts.
Just here. Then the step back is there, but it still works the same way. It shouldn't be. You see what I mean? It should still be and back in. Okay.
So for those just getting into Filipino martial arts, the one thing is, of course, you know, you always want to keep an open mind. That's one thing. And then I'd say, you know, when you join basically like a system, to always want to, I mean, no, politics in martial arts that's always there, no matter what. But make sure that whenever you're learning martial arts, you're doing it for you. That's one thing for sure. Try to stay away from politics as much as you can, and just make sure whatever you take in, you know, as you're learning like a thing or two, whether it's like strikes, blocks, a system, things like that, make sure to never look down on people. Because sometimes you might think that, oh, my style is better than the other, but it happens, but we don't want to pull that down. We don't want no kind of crab mentality when it comes to it, because we're all just one big community. It's always, just make sure you always want to support each other. Don't think you're better than the other. I mean, at least for me, that's how I think.
There's a deflection. Now, let's say, for example, keep your hands up. Okay? As I'm coming back in for the follow-up strike, let's say, for example, his hand happens to be right here. That's where you change the angle to look for the opening, as opposed to keeping it exactly the same. So let's say as a good partner, whenever let's say he comes in, to keep it normal, centered. The reason why it's centered is because whatever strike your opponent comes in, the hand will always end up in that center. You don't want to reach for it. Because the moment, let's say, you would get in, right? So the moment you reach for it out here, then you can counter back. Because you're telegraphing at that point. That's why the mindset is distance, footwork first. So when the strike happens, if you feel like you're rushing things, because you don't have that much distance. You don't necessarily always have to be able to clash. That's not the case. The mindset is great distance. When you see the opening there, that's when you kind of get used to that timing. As I move in, the hand happens to be here. That means I have the option to either go for the neck if I want to, or maybe here, maybe went to the leg, or maybe straight down. But the mindset is you're looking for those targets. Everyone might be different, where you would be then as you come back in, then you might be here. Then that means that you would have to go down here. Let's say maybe again, maybe right here. Then you might have to go up here. So it's seeing those movements where you're not exactly trying to telegraph the strike, but that's where the kind of change happens.
So I mean, the most common one is always discipline. That's one thing. That's one thing for sure that kind of I carry on towards my life. Besides discipline, it's also more of humility, kind of just always being humble and always having that kind of white belt mentality, I guess you could say, where I'm always open to kind of learning new things, where I never think of myself as, oh, I already know this, so I'm better than that. So it was never really like that. But yeah, discipline and humility for the most part, and just perseverance, never giving up. Yeah.
But it's edge to edge, because there's the times where the sword will bite, so it kind of gets stuck. So you can either use it more of this way, kind of like palm facing you, or palm facing down. So when you're doing it, you get that either this way or this way. It's really more of a preference. There's no kind of better option. It's just whichever one feels more natural. For me, personally, I do more of this. Well, actually, if I'm being specific, I'm not turning my wrist, but I'm actually just turning the blade, if that makes sense. So that's just more of like a personal thing that I do. But my older brother, who's just got a few days, showed this to me and it became like a thing. So usually the mindset of this one is if I turn my wrist, I mean, that kind of feels like, I'm getting wrist locked. But if I turn my blade, that means now I hit more of the hand. Because it's almost like I'm punching with it. I believe lightning does something similar. Right? So there's a lightning scientific, but as far as the movement, right? So either this way or this way. As you deflect, then that's when you come back in for that strike. Okay?
Yeah. Straight.
Kadena. 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 Chain. Remove the head balloon. Wait. Get out. Tawag mo ba? Tamaan ka dyan. Oh.
Yeah, that's the blade. You cannot think the blade. The blade is here, the wood blade.
Even if it's a backhand, same idea. Okay? So I'm only deflecting the blade on the backhand just because it's right here. Only just because it's for the sake of the drill. Right? Because I don't want to confuse any of you. But for those that are probably getting that down, you can cut the hands instead. Okay? It's always kind of like the safest route just because it's crossing over and come back in. So, you guys have that option to either use the flat or not. But if you see the opening that you can cut the hand, you can cut the hand. You can come back in. Okay? My main goal is for you guys when you're doing this, not to stay too far out. Because it wouldn't make sense. Since this is in a controlled setting, I don't expect anyone kind of swinging. When you guys are doing this, just step back enough and there's that space in between. Practice this. Now as you step in, not like this, but pinpoint where the target will be. Okay? If you end up hitting your buddy, let me know, then we'll make them do burpees in the middle of that. But at least the goal is to have the control of the blade. Yes? Find where the target is. Because it wouldn't make sense for me to just do this. Well, at least for me, personally.
guess it's more of, like with KI, especially with the Ricketts lineage, because no one really kind of continued on after my father. So I just want to make sure at least the interpretations when it comes to the Ricketts lineage is definitely remembered, and that because I'm also a father actually. I have an 11-month-old son, so as he grows up and he sees that, I want him to understand that this is something actually he can look forward to and be able to kind of pass that on to him from one generation to another. But it's really just more of want to remember that the way I teach, the way I kind of come at it, it's not really anything with me trying to get into politics. It's just really, this is a politics free kind of community that we're here to just get better. Whenever you come over here, whenever you're with a Ricketts lineage kind of system or with the group, you won't have to matter about, I came from a different style, is that okay? It's just having this kind of brotherhood over here that everyone's welcome for the most part.
If I slice, then I can burst. See what I mean? But always, my mindset is you always want to have this reset. Okay? So the movement will go, let's say, when we're doing the X strike, you can go 1, 2. If you're extending your range, a slight turn is fine. But notice how when I'm turning it, I still keep the same motion where it's as if it's in the center versus turning. See? So try to make sure it stays within that center. Ilustrisimo never crosses their arm. Because that's the mindset of it. You rarely see our Tatang Ilustrisimo cross his arms. The only time you would do that maybe is because for an environment. So again, 1. So let the blade do the work. Let the weight of the blade. Let the weight of the blade. Okay? So a little bit more detail on this. When you're doing the out of the strike, so you're here, right? As you're kind of turning it, just to get to the proper body mechanics for it, think of it as when you're coming in for the second one. A lot of people actually have a hard time with the second one. They end up kind of flicking it. So think of it as if, let's say, your sword is sheathed in it. You're just drawing it out. It's really kind of that mindset. 2. Nice. With the footwork, it works the same way for the loop up. So let's say, for example, the way you guys come up with a if in terms of the way we're doing, if the opponent doesn't have a go with it, you can actually see the drop. It's always the way. How are you doing here? So if you're doesn't be on the side, right, then you end up more than just so we don't get where if it's kind of then it's more of the mindset is you're kind of going straight in. But if you're looking at it as more so the way I was but if there is some sort of contact, then you can actually because the flip of the wrist will happen if it's more funny going straight in. This is more of a pure weight. But if it's a mixture of weight and stick, but you're focusing on distance, then that's when you kind of in that case, it's a pretty yeah, that's okay. You're thinking it has to say, this comes from 80 if let's say, as a general public, right, the idea is you get out of the way, you deflect it out, and then you bring it back. But let's say you already have the experience. You're used to kind of bending, right? So the moment you do this, then you don't necessarily have to keep it sit and then go straight. That's when you kind of either flip in the style or you can just kind of go here. Also, the idea of the palisade, right? So the way we do it is, so you can see I have palisade right here. That's like in the beginning of how I talk. But over time, whenever I roll away, my palisade are actually right here now. So it's almost like the same way how I would do it if I was doing pull-ups or a deadlift. Exactly. The difference here, that way I can have to walk. So my tip for me right here is that this game is like, let's say if you were striking here, if I was rolling my wrist a little bit heavier, it's going to break out. But when you're rolling it, if you try to add more weight to it, it's always I'm not rich. Now I have the opposite end instead. The idea is basically all great and all it's one of those things where
avoid the breaking the rules.
Exactly. If you're blocking on the other side, it doesn't matter. But at least for this one, I tend to. This became more of a habit. So now whenever I'm things like that. But yeah, so that's all. That's why the grip is always a preference. Depending on whichever one works better for you. So when I turn it, I'm pressing on the flat now. It's on the flat. Now we see, it's not stronger.
So your grip is like
Yes. So it's just more of like, because if I start doing this for every like an hour, it's going to take too much time. But at least whenever you get a chance. So Australia 1, we also have the pump versus Australia. This isn't the order of the phone, I'm just showing you kind of the opposites. So you guys can understand. Right? We also have the roof block right here. We also have this step out. Versus the good. We have a Fusada right here. So when you're doing a Fusada, you're facing the direction where the strike is coming. So in this case, he's throwing a backhand at you, so he faces the direction where that strike is. Okay. So as I'm here, just turn it. Okay. Yeah, okay. So the top, ready? So one. Okay. And we have the opposite two. Now we can kind of practice just each of them. One. Set. Two. Set again. Set. One. Okay. I'll put this in order of the root ball. To get a better feel of it, you're going to have that help. Once the root comes, you're not having to force it.
Yeah, the turn. Yeah.
Once you turn, it kind of speeds it up. And then, which in turn becomes a Puma. Right.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, Pumas, you can get it's too much like complicated from a lot of people. But the transition, you guys already know. When you do the low, right?
Yes, sir.
But once you feel that way, you just kind of sort of generating has to turn into it's right. But that's just kind of like a last minute thing. It's just start facing kind of using with the father and mother. So from here, hopefully you guys are still with me. Yeah. I hope it's not too much. Ready? Going one. From here, now we have the algebus, and then we have the X. So when I cut the algebus, just bring it straight back, elbows in, and then X straight. Okay? And it's not ready. Going one, algebus, and then X. Boom. Good. Now reverse Australia. Next one. So as I push up, I'm basically coming down here. So my hand, simply just turn it almost like I'm going for an uppercut. It's basically that. So uppercut is that slice. If I feel like I need to step more to create that space, then I'll just step my left leg out. Slice. Slice. Always adjust to the distance. Everyone's different. Everyone has a different way of stepping, so if you feel like you stepped in too deep, then just step out. You stepped in too far, then step in. There's always that adjustment, okay? So again, ready? Going one, two, and go. Oh, wait, sorry. Opposite way, sorry. One, or here, either one. So now from here, you simply just push it down, push down. It's nice and over. This just has it all the way over. And from here, simply just go the next one to keep it simple. Okay? Go one more time. Move block one, slice here, and then one. Opposite side, reverse over. Here, slice it, banana, and then from here, extra. Okay? One more time, side down. Okay, one, slice, then extra, forward. Opposite side, reverse, slice, the next one. I tend to kind of be specific with this as we clear it up, just bring the blade up. And then go. Remember that when you're bringing your blade up, this is a kind of a big thing, is that you don't go from here down opposite to either. Remember, since you're using blades, you have the option to either slice or thrust. Then slice, or you can basically kind of slice and then thrust. So you kind of mix and match this. Either when you do a loop down, you can just do a loop down and then come back in. It's closer for it. And you go for that this one. Or let's say, for example, he has, because sometimes the offhand kind of tends to be hurt. If I'm at this close, they punch me. There's a dagger or a knife. So that's when there's this option that you can actually stay back. But notice how the mindset is there's this kind of sinking motion here to break this posture. And here, as we go for that. So the idea is basically have the edge pointing up. Okay? So here, what? And from here. Oh, sorry. So, other one right here. It's more of, it's basically the disarming illustration was very recycled, different entry, but the finish is still the same. So when I'm doing this one, there's this block, right? So there's a scrub. The mindset for this one is that from here, all I'm doing is just stepping. There's that hit. And you notice how it's still the same way. Okay? For the blade, it's right here. So there's this one, right? Oh. Hits. There's that one, right? So the other one right here is that you can actually go this way. Right? What? So you can see how it works more for stick than blade. So this is more of a Mangyuli kind of thing. Where if you're familiar with Bahadzuku, so another lineage of Ilustrisimo, Mangyuli, when you do this one, there's a trap too. It's actually pretty fancy, how I see it. So from here, you can either go turn this way, and you use this as more of a shoot. Kind of like a projectile, right? Or you can kind of go this way, turn this way. But usually the mindset for this one is this arm right here. I'm just showing you this one just because it's a seminar. There needs to be a little bit of a fancy display, right? So from here, this one this isn't just this. It's a hit to the trap. See what I mean? So it kind of makes a little bit more sense now, right? So from here, this one, right? So stick motion this one. So you kind of just wrap around the puño. So that's why there's some puños that you kind of choke on it a little bit to make use of this. So when you're going through the motion, it's just hand is right here. Simply just turn. If he's fighting this, say struggle, then that's when you turn to the other way. And then pull. So that's the stick. Okay.
The main thing is, whether you're learning KI, whether you're learning different kinds of martial arts, the main thing is, if you're Filipino, you want to get into your culture, get to know your culture, so at least learn some form of Filipino martial arts. Doesn't have to be KI, it can just be anything. Key thing is, when you're checking other systems, make sure that system kind of speaks for you. It speaks to you. You don't have to just go with it just because everyone's for it. Just because that's the hype. It's a lot more of, you like it, go for it. Doesn't matter if one system seems like one's better than the other. You guys can argue all the time, but the main thing is, if you like it, go for it. Guess you could say.
So there's really more of the body weight to it. Something that always gets lost in the streets is that you always think it's just here. But the streets uses a lot of body. There's a drop to it. And when it's here, instead of you just doing this, there's a, you see what I mean? So look, slice. That's where the loop comes in. The loop adds to it for that drop. Not just this one, but
whatever you do outside of martial arts, it can enhance what you're doing. Like for me, for example, all I did was KI my whole life, like Kali Ilustrisimo, but I also did other stuff, meaning dancing, boxing, and everything, which really enhanced everything. So that means that, you know, just because you're doing KI, or let's say you're just doing FMA, if you feel like you're getting burned out from it, it's all right. You can take a break, go for other stuff, and afterwards you can come back and you'll find like different inspirations. But one thing for sure, you're always growing, always have that white belt mentality, and you know, no need to pull people down. You know, crab mentality, we don't need that. It's just being humble with everyone, just friendly with everyone. That's really what it's all about. Because again, at the end of the day, we're all just here, just one big community, just learning from each other.
Check it, oh, this fire, run, head.